London's Natural History Museum and Cambridge University have said that they are ready to cooperate with Zimbabwe to return human remains that were taken in the colonial era. The fresh statements come after a delegation from Zimbabwe held talk with officials from both institutions. The Zimbabweans are looking for the skull of late 19th century anti-colonial heroes, which they believe could be in the UK, but these have not been found. The authorities in Zimbabwe have long suspected that the remains of some of the leaders of an uprising against British rule in the 1890s, known as the First Chimurenga, were taken to the UK as trophies. The most significant among them was a woman who became known as Mbwaya Nemanda. She was executed in what is now the capital, Harare, and is revered as a national heroine. In doing a search of its archive, the Natural History Museum did uncover 11 remains that appeared to be originally from Zimbabwe, but its records do not connect them with Nehanda. This includes 3 skulls taken in 1893, thought to be from Zimbabwe's second city, Bulawayo, as well as remains uncovered in mine shafts and archaeological digs and later donated. Cambridge University Duckworth Laboratory have not been so specific, simply saying it has a small number of human remains from Zimbabwe. But in a significant statement sent to the BBC, it said it had not identified any of these as belonging to First Chimurenga figures. The Natural History Museum with 25,000 human remains and the Duckworth Laboratory with 18,000 have some of the largest such archives in the world. These have come from a variety of sources, including archaeological excavation of ancient sites, but for many of the exact origin have been obscured by time. During the colonial era, body parts were sometimes removed from battlefield or dug up from graves, either as trophies or for research into the now discredited scientific field. In the 19th century, phrenology, which investigated the idea that human characteristics could be determined by the shape of the skull, was very popular in the UK and other parts of Europe. Phrenological societies could collect skull to help develop the theory, which for some extended racial classification. Some researchers set out to show that skull shape indicate that people from different parts of the world were inherently inferior. Some of these archives that now exist in the UK are amalgamations of what had been amassed by defunct Phrenological Society as well as private collectors. Zimbabwe's government believed that somehow the skull of the country's heroes ended up in the archive of a British museum. Chief among them were spiritual leaders including Chawe Nyakachakana, who became known as Mbuya, that is, grandmother. Nehanda, she was the medium of the revered ancestral spirit Nehanda. She was arrested after being accused of murdering a British official. Nehanda was then hanged and her body decapitated, it is believed. What happened next is not clear, but in recent years, Zimbabwean officials have been made several public statements saying it ended up in a Natural History Museum. With a death cry of "my bones will surely rise," Nehanda became an increasingly potent symbol for those fighting against white minority rule in what was then known as Rhodesia from the late 1960s. Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980s. The Mbwaya Nehanda statue in Harare was put up in 2021. A 3-meter statue of Nehanda now stands over a major road in the center of Harare. It is unveiling in 2021. President Emerson Mnangagwa pledged to continue to call for the return of our skull and order from Natural History Museum. For Zimbabweans, the removal of the head remains that you have literally punished the person beyond grief. Godfrey Machanchi, who led the delegation to the United Kingdom, told the media in 2020 when the visit was being planned. If the head is separated, that means that the spirit of that person will forever linger and never settle. Despite not finding what the Zimbabwean delegation was looking for, both the Natural History Museum and Cambridge University say they are committed to working with the Zimbabwean government to repatriate what was found. As part of its policy of repatriation, earlier this year, the Natural History Museum resumed ancestral Moriori and Maori remains. In a press statement following a recent cabinet meeting, Zimbabwe government said that the delegation that sent to the UK was satisfied that there are indeed human remains of Zimbabwean origin in the UK. Government will spare no effort to ensure the repatriation of our ancestors, it added. The Zimbabwean delegation also held talk with British Museum, Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum, the University of Manchester Museum, and the UK's National Archive, but no details are given about what was discussed. Despite the lack of success in the trip to the UK, the historical significance to Zimbabwe of the remains of Neander and other means that the search will continue.